Hi, I'm Allison Lovestone, Vice President Secondary of ICTM, and I wanted to share briefly how I was able to use Zoom and Padlet to have my class build some norms for the group work that we'll do throughout the year in a remote setting. So first off, I had all of the students on a Zoom call, and I explained to them that we were going to try to build 3 to 5 sort of big overarching norms that we would use to guide how we worked in groups this year, and that they were going to build those based on their experience in the past. So I gave them 3 minutes in which they individually brainstormed lists of do's and don'ts for group work. So from their past experience, what do they like people they're working in groups to do, and what don't they like people they are working in groups to do? And so students individually did that at home on their own, either on paper or on a Google Doc. Once they had had enough time to finish that, I sent the students into breakout rooms of groups of 3 or 4, and in those breakout rooms, they shared their lists of do's and don'ts with each other. If another student had a do or don't that you did not have listed, but you agreed with, you added it to your list. If you did not agree with something they had, students were to say, well, I don't think we should have that on our list, and debate and decide if they wanted to include it or not, come to a consensus. Once they had then these master lists in their groups of all of the do's and don'ts for their 3 or 4 people total, then I shared with them a Padlet. So I went to Padlet.com, and I had created ahead of time a Padlet by clicking Make a Padlet. I have been doing all of these sample ones to share with you, so my limit is reached, but luckily I have the one I made earlier here. I chose to make a Canvas Padlet. So if you go to Padlet.com, there are lots of different options for the type of Padlet you can make. I chose to make a Canvas Padlet. I really like that because it allowed me to drag and rearrange things on the screen. So students then in their groups were to decide how they were going to add them, but their group was responsible for making sure every single item that they had on their list showed up on the Padlet. So they would just double click to add an item to the Padlet. They would type in whatever the thing was, and then they just have to click away, and what they had typed would stay there. And so the group made sure everything they had on their big master lists of do's and don'ts was added to the Padlet, both the don'ts and the things they do want them to do. Once those were all added, they were spread out randomly all throughout this Padlet canvas. Then we all got back together as a full class on Zoom, and I asked them to look for themes in what they saw. So were there things that were listed that were really similar, where they would fall together under one sort of overarching theme? So when my class was working, the first thing a student said was help each other. They thought a lot of the things that we had put onto the Padlet all fell under help each other. So I created, by double clicking, one that said help each other. And then I asked all of the students in Zoom to click participants, and on that panel use the yes and the no button to let me know if they agreed that help each other should be one of our norms for the year in our group work. If they all said yes, then I colored it a color. If they did not, then we had further discussion. So everyone agreed help each other should be one of our norms. So I clicked this, I colored it pink, and then I asked for student input which of our scattered little things they had typed would fall under that big header of help each other. So they pulled over, they said, do help each other understand if someone's stuck on a problem. So then I was able to grab that, which was over here somewhere, and pull it under help each other. And then they said work together fell under there. So I pulled all the work togethers under there. So in the end, we had help each other with all of these more detailed things that fall under help each other listed. Once we had pulled those under, I had students once again use the participants panel to tell me that yes, they were good with help each other, and help each other meaning all of those little specific things, or no, they weren't okay with that. All yeses meant we moved on, and no meant we had further discussion. Then I asked students to look, what's another theme in in the small statements that are left? They said, make sure everyone is participating. And we went through that process again of them voting if they were good with the norm, make sure everyone is participating or not, then telling me what would fit under that, what are all the details that would fall under, make sure everyone is participating, and then again voting for that student input that yes, they agreed that this should be our norm and this is what it means or not. And we continued on. They knew I wanted 3 to 5, so at the end we talked about should some of these fall under one of the others or should it stay by itself. But we continued the process and we ended up coming up with these 5 norms that we're going to use as we work together in the classroom this year. I really liked how Padlet let all of the students have input. Everybody added ideas to the Padlet, but then how I was able to drag and organize those to help make sense of the work that we had done. Thanks for your time. I hope this is helpful.